Hey everyone, Coach Investor back to another video for today. So let's talk about Alibaba's earnings report. Despite beating on the top and bottom line, the stock is down around 5 to 6%. So what happened? Well, there is, of course, an increase in competition in China. China is still recovering from all the lockdowns, the pandemic, etc., etc. Of course, this quarter is always a bit weaker than the one we had before. There's also Chinese New Year, etc., etc. So take all of that into consideration when you're comparing quarter over quarter. But we're going to compare year over year. Now, overall, the business is still generating a nice amount of free cash flow, around 15% or so. So that's great, 50% margin that is. So that's nice. There's also some share buybacks. So all great. So what happened again? Well, we're going to have a look. But first, a couple of comments from the CEO with regards to the cloud business, with regards to future IPOs, spin-offs, etc. So in an increasingly complex world, we have proactively transformed our organization to strengthen the competitiveness of our business through greater independence to address the evolving needs of different customers and capture new opportunities. We are taking concrete steps towards unlocking value from our business and are pleased to announce that our board has approved a full spin-off of the Cloud Intelligence Group via a stock dividend distribution to shareholders. So this is already answering some of your questions, with intention for it to become an independent, publicly listed company. Whether that's going to be on the Hong Kong exchange, on the US exchange, remains to be seen. Of course, with the tensions between US and China, of course, going IPO right now might not be the best move. But let's wait and see what happens. Don't forget, end of 2024, presidential elections in the United States, a lot can change. Then comments from the CFO. So we have established a capital management committee at the Alibaba board level to undertake a comprehensive capital management plan to enhance shareholder value. Alibaba is committed to improving shareholders' return through the implementation of a robust capital allocation framework, because if you look at the stock chart, the stock hasn't really done that well. We are delighted to share that our board has approved the process to start external financing for Alibaba International Digital Commerce Business Group, exploration of IPO for China Smart Logistics Group, and execution of IPO for Freshippo. Of course, we did talk about it in another video, Alibaba basically spinning off a lot of their businesses. If you missed that one, it's going to be in the top right corner. Now, before I jump into the earnings report, if you enjoy this type of videos, do leave it a thumbs up, subscribe if you have not, would really, really appreciate that. And if you want to support me even further, do check out the link down in the description and in the pinned comment to get the top 10 best stocks to buy now, or go to fool.com/couchinvestor. We're also going to have a look at the graph at the end of this video. All right, so let's go over the main numbers and then dig a little bit deeper. So China commerce decreased 3% year over year, and this is also 65% of the total revenue. So the majority of their business comes from China. But if you look at all the other numbers, you see a nice little growth there year over year. International commerce, for example, grew 29% year over year. Local consumer services, 17% year over year. China, which is the logistics business, 18%. And then cloud, this is maybe one of the weaker points here for this quarter. And I think last quarter was a bit better, I believe. But again, this quarter, seeing that the cloud segment, which for every big company has become a big deal, seeing it decrease 2% might not be what the market is looking for. Now, digital and media entertainment grew 3%, that's just 4% of the business. Then innovation initiatives and other grew 47% year over year, barely any effect on the overall business when it comes to revenue. Now, on the other side, a big positive here on the bottom line, you can see that that has increased 35%. So non-GAAP diluted earnings per share, 35% growth year over year. So again, the profitability of the business, I've talked about this, I think 2 quarters ago. You're seeing that the core business is extremely profitable. And you can see this here with free cash flow for this quarter, $4.69 billion in free cash flow. You can see share repurchase, 1.83 billion. Now, when we look at each segment here for this quarter, you can see an improvement in adjusted EBITDA margin for the majority of these businesses. They compare it for this quarter and last year. So China commerce adjusted EBITDA margin 28% compared to 23% last year. International still negative 13%. Last year was 18%. So again, you can see here profitability wise, we are becoming much better. Same for local consumer services, same for China. When it comes to the cloud, again, it's positive. Last year was 1%, now we're at 2%, despite revenue being down. you can see that adjusted EBITDA margin has increased. Now, if you want a bit more context when you talk about the China commerce retail revenue, they say it was down mainly due to a decrease in offline store sales, which was negatively affected by the COVID-19 disruption in January and seasonal volatility from an earlier Chinese New Year, as well as normalizing grocery demand due to decrease in consumer hoarding behavior post-COVID-19. Of course, it's also because of the increase in competition. Then when we talk about the cloud business, of course, they announced the generative AI tools, LLMs. We've talked about that before and the impact of China on such technologies, the restrictions, maybe trust issues as well. But overall, they say recently Alibaba Cloud has endorsed multiple actions to make computing more accessible and affordable. We announced a new instance family that provides the same level of stability and offers up to 40% cost savings. For existing products, we reduced the prices of some of our core utility products, including computing, storage, networking, and security products by up to 50%. Now, just like with AWS, for example, maybe they are okay taking a hit in the short term, but at the same time, making sure that the existing customers continue to grow with them and maybe attracting some new ones by not increasing the pricing, by offering maybe more solutions. And then when the overall economic situation turns, these customers will just spend more with them, and over time, they'll just gain what they lost and maybe even more. So before we conclude the graph, so right now, of course, this is the daily chart, red candle here again, down to 5% or so on the day. We are under the 50 and the 20-day moving average currently. When we look at the weekly, again, RSI pretty neutral, MACD very bearish right now. Again, it remains to be seen on what type of closing on Friday we land on, hopefully above the 20-day moving average, because remember, we were over the 20 and the 50-day before, well, at the start of this week. Right now, doesn't really paint such a pretty picture. But overall, disregard the short-term price action. The stock will do what the stock will do overall. To me, this was a good quarter. Again, it shows the profitability of the business, and that's extremely important because remember, China is still facing a lot of difficulties. Despite the world looking at just the US and Europe, China is not in such a great spot either. So for a company like Alibaba to perform the way it is performing today, right? Trying to do more with less, which is why profitability is improving, which is something that was not the case 1 year ago, to me is pretty promising. Again, I'll say this, although I don't own the stock, I think if this was an American company, it would be trading at a much higher valuation. So that's about it for me. Of course, do share your thoughts down in the comments below. What do you think about this report? Are you buying? Are you selling? Let me know down in the comments below. If you enjoy this type of videos, leave it a thumbs up, subscribe if you have not, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.